Ukraine's wartime death toll may not be public knowledge, but it is public agony. Young children left fatherless, wives widowed, over and over and over every day. Ruslan Borovic just celebrated his 41st birthday. A week later, he was dead.
So it is big tragedy. All words, I lost all words.
The fighting in Ukraine's east sometimes looks like this: grenades tossed inside buildings. These are reportedly Russian-employed mercenaries assaulting a Ukrainian trench. With more firepower than the Ukrainians, Russia is holding most of the ground it has seized. Ukraine's army, though, is far from folding. This precision strike on Russian tanks almost certainly the work of Western-supplied howitzers, the kind Australia, the US, and Canada sent. Russia is targeting those weapons shipments, with cruise missiles striking those rail lines used to ferry in weapons. But Ukraine has shown resilience, rebuilding infrastructure fast. It's also replenishing its casualties with eager volunteers, some of them foreigners, now training in the capital. Within days, everyone here could be at the front. This is the first time I've picked up a gun, says Uliana, and I've hit the bullseye. Russia could declare formal war against Ukraine, pouring everything into the fight.
Аккуратно!
To allow the civilians out of the complex this morning. An evacuation like this one led by a UN team over the weekend. But so far, there's no official response from Ukraine. And indeed, we've just had reports this morning from a top advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that there is new fighting there this morning. This is video from pro-Russian forces showing the ferocity of the battle for the last Ukrainian stronghold in Marioupol. Our senior defense reporter is Murray Brewster, and he's now joining our team in Kyiv with the very latest on the fighting today.
It is part of a stepped-up air campaign on the part of Russia, particularly in the western part of Ukraine. There was a missile strike this morning near Rivne, which is just west of here, a couple of hours west of here. And Russia is looking to hit the supply lines for Western military aid that's coming into the country.
Murray, as well, you've been speaking with the
complex, but have not yet taken control of it.
And while some civilians are being evacuated, those who remain in Azovstal, they suffer.
It's thought around 200 civilians are still sheltering underneath the complex, along with hundreds of Ukrainian troops. The last holdouts in a devastated city. Among Mariupol's ruins, the theater-turned-bomb shelter struck by Russian shelling in March. A new analysis by the Associated Press says evidence indicates almost 600 people died in its bombing, double previous estimates. Witness accounts include one woman who'd hidden in its basement. Calling it the pathway for life and cargo. Some of that cargo is arms supplied by the West, including US-supplied howitzers, CNN reporting Wednesday almost all of the 90 units promised by Washington are already in Ukrainian hands. Russia's defense minister is warning NATO that any weapons destined for Ukraine's use are legitimate targets as Russian troops look to advance in the Donbass. With no tangible victories in sight, the Kremlin dismissed speculation it will mark Monday's Victory Day national holiday by formally declaring war against Ukraine. But the letter Z, a widely used symbol of the invasion, looks
like this.
Compared to the other conflicts I've worked on, the intensity is much higher. The numbers of victims over a short period of time is much higher than I have personally seen in other conflicts.
Executions, forced disappearances, rapes. There are few limits to the violations of international law UN monitors are investigating in Ukraine. Bogner's team of 60 have started looking into 300 unlawful deaths. Those are just the ones that they're aware of from liberated areas around the capital, a fraction of the overall deaths in Ukraine.
We can't go to places like Marioupol. We can't go to places where there are severe hostilities. It's just too dangerous. So I would say that's one of the biggest constraints.
When those locations become accessible, Bogner says the work of her team will only expand. Already, she says nearly every person she and the team have met have a personal story of death that requires documentation. Their work to record everyone is no guarantee of justice. Prosecuting war crimes is an onerous legal undertaking that can take years.
I think even just documenting and making public what is happening is a form of sort of accountability, at least at the moment.